This episode is brought to you by Rainbow Sports Group. Rainbow Sports Group are a leading football infrastructure platform looking to discover and nurture the best young African talent. They not only provide academies to develop the football talent, but also provide high school programs and mentoring of the pressures and pitfalls of professional football from former top pros still embedded in the game. Rainbow's infrastructure allows players to be placed in a global football ecosystem with the full support throughout their career. For more information, visit rainbow-sports.com.
This is the Glenn Hoddle Footy Show. I'm Glenn Hoddle.
Welcome to the Glenn Hoddle Footy Show podcast. Episodes are released on Sunday evenings, and we hope you will join us every week. Glenn, as always, will talk us through the best of the footy action on today's podcast, and today we're joined by a special guest as Jonathan Barnett, Gareth Bale's agent. He's on the show telling us just how the deal to take him back to Spurs happened, so make sure you don't miss that later on. And Glenn will give us his thoughts on the current controversial handball rules after more penalties on Saturday and indeed on Sunday as well. But first, let's look back to the weekend's action.
Here are the headlines.
Manchester United grabbed their first win of the season with a late penalty at Brighton. Chelsea amazingly came back from a 3-0 down at half-time to West Brom to draw 3-3 with another late goal proving vital. And Everton won their third game in a row with a 2-1 victory at Crystal Palace, the winner coming from a controversial handball penalty decision. Elsewhere, there were wins for Southampton and Leeds, Spurs drew 1-1 with Newcastle, and Leicester caused an upset, winning at Manchester City with the help of a Jamie Vardy hat-trick. Well, let's start today looking back at some of the action from Saturday, and what a game at the Amex, where Manchester United grabbed all 3 points with a late penalty winner. And Glenn, we've heard about Fergie time before, but this goal was scored after the full-time whistle had blown. How crazy was that?
Well, this was an incredible game of football, I've got to say. And the incident at the end was, we're breaking new ground every year in football with different things. But I've never experienced anything like that before. The closest I've seen was when, I think it was Clive Thomas in the World Cup in '78, blew the half-time whistle when the ball was from a corner for Brazil. And it was and he blew his whistle and they scored. And I've never seen anything like that. But I've got to say, it was, the handball was just before the whistle was blown. So it was within the game. So, I think on that occasion, I can understand why the handball was given.
A lot of the results service companies over the social media these days already had it down as a 2-2 draw because the final whistle went and they all just wrote down really quickly 2-2. So everyone was putting down as a draw, and then of course the VAR rose its ugly head and got involved, didn't it?
Well, hey, listen, VAR has taken a bit of stick when it shouldn't do, because I think this is the laws of the game. But it was justified, I think, actually. Although it was, if that had been any other minute of the match within 90 minutes, I think we'd have just said, yeah, that was a penalty. But the fact that it was so late and the referee had blown his whistle, he hadn't seen the incident. You've only got to look at the reaction of Maguire to say, something's happened there. And his hand, umpire's hand was high. It wasn't in a natural position. So I think VAR has done a good job there. But it's a weekend, or the second weekend, where I think the rules of the game need to be scrutinised and changed.
Yeah, we'll have a chat about the handball rule in a minute. We'll also hear from Roy Hodgson on his thoughts about the handball rule as well. But how unlucky were Brighton? I think it's the first time in the Premier League history that a team has hit the woodwork 5 times in a game.
Well, I thought they were very, very impressive at times against Chelsea, although they lost the game. Then they went up to Newcastle and dismantled Newcastle and won 3-0. So you're thinking, hang on, Graham Potter's onto something here, and he is. There's no doubt about it. If you keep performing like Brighton are performing at the moment, you're going to win more than you lose. If things go against you, obviously that's going to be difficult. But they seem to even themselves out over a long season anyway. But if I'm a Brighton fan, I'm thinking, yeah, hang on a minute. I went on record and said I think this year Brighton very easily will be 10th, 11th. They'll be safe very early. The way they're playing as well, that to open United up as many times as they did and hit the woodwork 5 times was quite incredible. And they were the better team. We're not talking about another team that might be down the bottom or mid-table. This is Manchester United, and not only did they go toe to toe, they nearly knocked them out. So at the end of the day, football's a strange game. You don't have to be the best team on the day to win the 3 points, and certainly Man United got away with that one.
Well, they needed to get that first victory, having lost at home to Palace, of course, the week before. What a game at the Hawthorns. West Brom 3 up at half-time. Chelsea all over the place in the first half. Recovered to make it 3-3 and a draw. They got out of jail big time there, the Blues.
Well, they did. I mean, to be fair, they dominated the game. They created a lot of attempts on goal. But you felt at 3-0 down. You never felt that the game was going to be over if Chelsea got back to 3-1. It was always going to be on, and I think that's what Frank Lampard said after the match. And he was probably telling his players where Frank's got to take a lot of credit is what he did at half time. He made substitutions and they worked for him. Hudson-Odoi coming on, for instance. So he made positive adjustments to his team. And yes, they continued to dominate, but West Bromwich Albion, at first half just showed you how clinical and how difficult this Premier League's going to be. If you make mistakes defensively in this league more than any league, and it doesn't have to be the top teams, it can be teams that might be fighting in the bottom 3, you're going to get punished. And Chelsea just haven't learnt any lessons yet. It's the same old Chelsea from last year, and they've had 1 clean sheet in 21 away games. That you cannot win. You cannot win trophies, or you cannot be consistent, put it that way. You can win a trophy because a cup game, you can peak on cup rounds and get through and win a cup. But I think to be consistent, you can't play like that. And you've got to be scoring 4 goals every game to win a game. So, I think there's a lot of work defensively for Chelsea. They're fantastic going forward. I really enjoyed some of their movement and the passing and what they did. And to come back, they've got to take a lot of credit, the character that they showed. But it was one of those games where both managers would have walked down that tunnel and they would have been absolutely gutted because of the way that Frank has played, his teams have played defensively. And obviously, Slavan would be absolutely distraught the fact that he's lost a 3-0 lead. So it was fascinating. I mean, the Premier League has started this year with so many goals, so many exciting games. You just want it to keep continuing.
Defensively, I remember back in the late 90s when Chelsea had Marcel Desailly and Frank Leboeuf. They played on their debuts together as a debut defenders. They were at Coventry. I was at the game, and Chelsea were 2-0 down after 16 minutes because they just didn't know what hit them. The speed, the pace was totally different. And I think Thiago Silva found that out pretty quickly, didn't he, on his debut as well?
Yeah, I mean, my eyebrows went up when I didn't think Frank would start him yet. I think he would probably need a little bit more time to adjust. And Christensen and Thiago together at the moment, I didn't quite see that as a unit that, I think he's got other centre-backs that are fit that I thought would go in there and play, especially at West Brom. So I was surprised anyway. But the use of his ball, the ball that before his mistake was excellent. Some of his feeding through to players that were in great positions. He could have easily took the easy way out and knocked it to fullbacks. But he was actually threading the ball through to, and I thought, oh yeah, I didn't expect the mistake that he did. It was a dreadful mistake. Just took his eye off the ball. He was complacent. And maybe he's got away with that in France to a certain degree, in Paris Saint-Germain particularly, but he's not going to get away with it in the Premier League. And it was a harsh one for him to learn, but he's learned it. He's experienced enough to say, I've got to adjust my game. This is a bit different over here, the pace of this game.
There were the games on Saturday that we're looking at today. We'll look at that handball decision at Palace a little bit later on, as I say. But coming up next, we're going to hear an exclusive in-depth interview in a really nice few minutes with Gareth Bale's agent, Jonathan Barney. He joins us next.
To get in touch with Glenn with a question for a future Footy Show podcast, you can email Glenn at midnightuk.co.uk or send a tweet to @midnightmix.
Well, we're now joined by Gareth Bale's agent, Jonathan Barnett. Jonathan, thank you very much for joining us here on the show. It's been an entertaining few weeks. There's been lots of rumours going around, and Gareth finally back at Tottenham. Was it an easy choice for him to go back home to where he'd been so many years ago?
Yeah, I think for him it was easy. He likes... going back over the years, Tottenham has been very close to his heart. So I think that was the big motivation in him going. There are other things as well, but in general, he had choices of about 2 or 3 other clubs. And once he knew Tottenham was very serious, then I think it was quite easy for him. Maybe not so easy for me. But,
Daniel was never easy to work with. I know I've experienced that myself.
Really?
But it's as a representation for Gareth. How happy are you that he's come back to the UK and particularly Tottenham?
I'm happy that he's smiling.
Yeah, exactly.
I've been with him since he was a kid. We're the only agents he's ever had, so he has to think we're good. But for me, it's been very hard to see a young boy. I've known him since he was so young. I know what he's suffering inside, no matter what he shows outside.
Yeah.
And for me to see him smiling is worth everything.
Yeah, he looks happy, and if you're happy, you're going to do a better job on the pitch as well. There's no doubt about that. In any business, if you're happy, any job you're in, if you're happy and you're enjoying it, you're going to do better than if you're miserable sitting there. Yeah, and I would imagine that the family is happy to be returning at the moment as well, or are they excited about that?
Well, obviously his wife, his children have only known Madrid.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
so it's going to be a whole new life for him.
Tell me, Jonathan, had he seen the stadium? Did he know how good it was?
I was talking to Daniel Levy about that, and we both think, and I haven't actually spoken to Gareth about it, that he had, just before he left, he's seen the training ground.
Ah, right.
I think he'd been there before he'd gone off to Madrid, we think. I don't think, I'm pretty sure he hasn't been inside the new Tottenham Stadium.
Yeah, no, I think that would have been impressive for him as well, and exciting for him to come back under those circumstances. I mean, that's how far Tottenham have come. When you think about it, the great Real Madrid, to have better facilities and a better stadium and a better training ground than Real Madrid is some mask from Tottenham, and it's where the club are going, and that's a part of what they want to do at Tottenham. They want to be successful. Do you think Gareth, now with his experience, we're going to see a different Gareth on the pitch?
Yeah. Different from what? From the one that left?
Yeah, well, more mature.
Yes, of course.
To stamp in your sort of a personality on the team and on the dressing room in a positive way.
He left England and Tottenham as a very young player 7 years ago.
Yeah.
And since then, no matter what anybody who criticizes him says, he's achieved unbelievable things as a player and as a human being. He's got a wife, he's 3 children. He's been probably the most successful financially of any player that's ever come out of Great Britain, other than probably Beckham, who's done it off the field. So I think he handles it all himself. So he is a man now, very, very much so.
Yeah, that's what I said. And also, I think, Jonathan, if the key to his success at Tottenham, I think, it's just my personal view, you would know a little bit, is keeping him fit. The medical staff and Jose have got to work really close with him to keep him out there, to keep him fit and be able to say, right, you're going to rest and play on the bench, maybe 1 game or 2, give Harry Kane rests. That is a massive plus for Jose. And I just see, because the last couple of years, more than us, I see the mileage on Gareth's clock really for 2 years hasn't really been a lot, has it? So there's a lot still to come.
No, I think if he is happy at what he's doing, I think you'll see a great player. I'm very confident he will, but also the management of him. And as I said, he's not a baby, he's a man. And I think the coach, I'm not going to tell the coach what to do. I'm not an expert in football. No. Although I'm a football agent, but I'm not an expert. Yeah. But the truth is, I think mentally and physically, he has to be looked after both ways.
Yes, yeah. But I think Spurs fans now are so excited. They've got a serial trophy winner in the manager, in bringing Jose in. And now they've got a serial trophy winner as a player. He's done, I mean, as you touched on earlier, Jonathan, he's done so good at 4 Champions League alone. I mean, what do you want from someone? It's incredible. And that's why Spurs fans are really excited. They're seeing this as a marriage of success in heaven, and that's the big pressure. He's under, obviously, you play for Real Madrid, you're under pressure. The pressure of coming to Tottenham is every fan, it's almost like a make or break season in many ways for Tottenham. They're looking and they're searching for silverware, and Gareth's experienced that.
I think what also some people have recognised, on the big games, he's usually the one that steps up and actually puts the ball in the net or does a great thing. He's not one of those players that plays great all season and then it goes missing in big games. He actually excels in big games. The more the pressure is on him that way, the more he enjoys it. He thrives on it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's no better example. I was in the stadium doing the commentary of his overhead kick in the Champions League final a couple of years ago. My word, just come on from the bench, talk about affect the game. And I think that's exciting. And as a Spurs fan myself, I can't wait to see him back in that Spurs shirt again. I just think that every Spurs fan is so excited. He's got a slight injury at the moment. Do you see that as a long-term?
I say one thing, Glenn. I'm an Arsenal supporter, so every time you tell me how excited Tottenham are, I get very upset.
I used to like you. I didn't realise you were a gooner. Oh, dear. Oh, well, but coming round on that one, the Premier League is going to win out. Though you're an Arsenal fan, I know Chris, he likes his Chelsea, but it's great to see Gareth playing in the Premier League again. That's just going to add to it. We nearly had Messi, but Gareth coming, I think, is going to be fantastic for the league. It really is. I
only hope the press behave themselves and don't start writing stupid things and behave. They have to behave. I mean, it would be in my bonnet how badly the British press behave, but that's another conversation.
Have these stories of the golf in Madrid and all the love for the 18 holes, has it all been over-exaggerated then, Jonathan? Of
course. It's absolutely ridiculous. He trains more than anybody else. He does it. In his spare time, he plays golf. It's not, it's not a sin.
No, listen, on the golf front, every player since, the 60s, that's what footballers do. They played golf. I did it. We all did it. And to be honest, I know Harry Kane's I'm a member of a Ligo, and so is Harry. And I don't know whether Gareth is going to join the Ligo. It's a fantastic concept. It really is. But it's one of the things that it's hand in glove with footballers. It's such a different game to football anyway. So, it's the best thing for a sportsman is to go and play golf. It's completely different to a team game. It's different. You've got time to think. It's a wonderful game. So let's hope Gareth enjoys his golf as well while he's over it, because he has to be happy.
Yeah. I mean, truthfully, to go out and play a round of golf is far better than going to nightclubs or going having a drink or doing anything like that. It's lunacy. Gareth is probably as fit as anybody, physically fit. He trains every day. He loves it. He goes home. He's got in Madrid, he had a gym in his home, and he worked out there. He's superly fit. That is part of his life. And going out and playing golf is another major part.
Yeah.
You should get him to play, Glenn, because he's actually a pretty decent golfer.
Oh, I've heard. Don't worry. I know Harry Kane as well. I think those two will be playing quite a bit together.
What did he play off, Harry Kane?
I think he's off 2 now.
So there'll be I think Gareth's off with scratch or 1 or 2.
Yeah, well, if he wants to come and get his confidence up, he can play me off 10. So
you're a bandit, I can see.
Get a few wins under his belt. Oh dear. No, but getting back to the football, he's got to be. I mean, he's played with some wonderful players. Don't get me wrong, in Real Madrid. But at this moment in time, Tottenham have got 2 extra special players themselves, and he must be excited about joining Son and Harry Kane. That those 3 up front could be could be so sensational. Sorry to say this as an Arsenal fan, but could be sensational for Tottenham.
Listen, that's one of the things I was talking about. I think that could be the best in the league.
It could.
Obviously, it depends on how Mourinho plays, and giving Gareth the freedom to be able to do what he wants to do is very important for Gareth, I think.
Yeah, there's a couple of positions he'll have for him. If looking from outside in, there's times he'll play wide, but I think he'll be involved with Son just behind Kane, and that for Spurs fans is so exciting. What we got to do is stop the ball going in at the other end, which is a bit of a different story, but it's very exciting to see that team being moulded together and what Jose is going to do with it. And let's keep our fingers crossed that it's successful.
He's not the player that they saw leave, though. He's much more of a mature type. He's just not going to run straight down the ring like he did at Inter Milan.
Yeah.
He's a different player.
Yeah. We spoke about that on the Footy Show last week, and I said exactly the same. Where Gareth, I think, has got an advantage is that a lot of players like Gareth who are quick and beat people when, that's the only dimension they've got. Gareth was always somebody that can play with his head up. And he can pass. So I think he'll create a lot for Tottenham, as well as score his goals. But I think, people have got to realise he'll probably more be a creator for Kane and Son than he probably will do scorers, the main share of goals. So that is exactly what Tottenham have needed, in my opinion. So that's exciting as well. And I'm sure he'll take that on as something that he'll do on the pitch. And, it's exciting times, and it's great to have him back. It really is. I'm so pleased he's ended up at Tottenham.
At least one of us is pleased.
Can I just finish off with a question of, they say never go back, don't they, Jonathan? Never go back to where you've been before. Drogba went back to Chelsea, Josie went back to Chelsea, and Klinsmann, old Jurgen, he went back to Tottenham and he saved them a few years ago. So is it good to go back sometimes?
I'll let you know at the end of the year.
just when Tottenham ease out Arsenal for fourth position, is that when you're going to be bringing us back?
Ooh. That could be the end of my relationship with Gareth.
I'm sure it won't be. Listen, we appreciate. We thought we'd get 5 minutes with you. We've got ages here. We're going to have to make a special episode just for you shortly, because you've been so great coming on. Thanks very much for your time. I know you're very busy.
I've only got another 800 footballers.
You got another football?
Just over 800.
800? Wow. That is so unstable.
Yeah, just over 800 around Europe, and so it's quite busy.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, well, we're pleased that you brought Gareth back, and we're delighted that you've been on the GH Footy Show, and thanks for your time.
You've always been a great inspiration to a lot of players, I tell you, Glenn, you really have.
Wow, thank you. And stay safe yourself.
God bless you. Bye.
Yeah, please. Thanks, Jonathan. Thank you.
So Jonathan Barnett, very honest there with us, Glenn, during our conversation this week. He sounded like he was happy that Gareth's happy, and if Gareth's happy, then Tottenham are going to be happy as well, aren't they?
Yeah, I thought it was a real good insight to Gareth Bale and his connection with him. He's had him. What I liked about it is, he's had him since he was a kid. He's been his agent since he's a kid, and he wants him genuinely and his family to be happy. And I think Gareth is. I think he wants to be loved a little bit, and Tottenham will give him that love that he hasn't had at Real Madrid. So I think he's delighted that he's come back, and it's amazing though, isn't it, to think he's got 800 players in his stable as such. So that's a hell of a lot.
Where do you start with that? 800 players. I mean, where do you start with it? I just don't know.
I'll tell you, they'll all have problems as well. They'll all have things to be sorted out. So he must have a lot of people working with him. But no, but it was really insightful, and it was great for him to come on and give us a bit of it, that insight that to Gareth. Let's hope his injury isn't something that's going to keep him, a long time off the pitch. Let's get his debut, his second debut, if you like, back for Tottenham pretty quickly, and get him out there playing.
Could be exciting. Look forward to watching Gareth play. Plays great for Wales and didn't play a lot for Real Madrid, as you mentioned in episode 2, but he's certainly going to be a difference for Tottenham. By the way, in episode 1, you mentioned that your favourite biscuit was a custard cream, and then a company decided they wanted to supply you with custard creams. So at this point, I'd just like to say I really like driving BMWs, just in case anybody... I hired one a few months ago. And it was a delicious drive. So anyone that's got one out there, Glenn will have the custard creams. Oh, that's fine.
As delicious as my custard creams? Oh, I don't know.
Oh, I'm not so sure. It was a pretty nice drive. Anyway, let's talk about handball now. First, it happened at Crystal Palace as they lost to Everton on Saturday. And then in the Sunday afternoon game at Spurs, it happened again. This time for Newcastle. I know Glenn was not impressed with either of those decisions, and neither was another former England manager, Roy Hodgson. Here's what he said in his press conference after the game.
I just don't understand how we've allowed it to happen. I don't understand how the Premier League, the referees, the coaches, the managers, the players, I don't know how we've allowed this type of situation, which we have virtually in every match at the moment, to occur, because the rules of football are important. One of the beauties for me of the rules of football was basically everyone knew them, because most people have played some sort of football, even if it was only in the schoolyard. But now we've got to, take on board rules which are being suggested are the right ones to judge handball. And for me, they aren't the right ones to judge handball, so I think the whole thing's a nonsense.
So Roy thinks the whole thing's a nonsense, this handball rule. It gives a team that's really playing badly an opportunity to score a goal through a penalty with one wayward shot, doesn't it?
It's a ludicrous rule. It really is. I don't understand the logic behind it. I really can't see how they can justify how they've made the rule. It's got to go back to deliberate handball is what we're talking about in football, and everyone can deal with that. And if your hand's in somewhere or your arm is in a position that it really is outrageously above your head, or like it was at United, that the last the penalty that was given, his hand was up in the air because he was going for a jump, and you can understand that, but you've got to have I feel so sorry for defenders, or not just defenders. It'd be strikers when they come back from set plays. You've got to go towards a player with your arms behind your back, which is absolutely ludicrous. Because how can you teach kids to defend like that? I'll tell you what they should do. I'll tell you what the lawmakers should do. I've come up with a little, you may laugh about this, but no, I think they should referee, and the referee should go around with his arms behind his back, and the only time he takes his arms away from behind his back is to blow the whistle to make a decision. Now, he will not be able to run as fast. He will not be able to balance himself. He wouldn't be able to do the job anywhere near as good as he would do if he could use both his arms. Now, a defender, if he goes to close a player down or he jumps, his arms are going to be in a position, and that is a natural position. We're talking about natural and unnatural. It's natural if you're walking along the street with your arms behind your back on a Sunday stroll. That's natural. But you're not. You're a footballer playing a high-speed game. You're going to have your arms a little bit, as you go to close somebody, to lever, to get a balance. And if it hits your arm, people are just going to start flicking the ball against somebody's arm in the 18-yard box and get penalties. And matches and points are being won and lost on these decisions, and it's absolutely ludicrous. I think referees should have a look at it themselves and do an experiment. They're professional refs. Run around, do a referee with your arms behind your back, and they'll find out that, hang on a minute, we've got to reassess this rule, because it's impossible for a player to do that. And that's what they're having to do. More and more, every decision, like Ward's at Palace, every decision we're seeing like that, you're going to see more defenders running with their arms behind their back, trying to close a player down. And I think that's totally wrong. It's something that's ruining our game. And, these rule makers have got to look at it, and they've got to make a change.
It's the rule makers, isn't it? You're saying the referees have to do all of this, but it's the rule makers themselves that some of them probably never played football at a high level. They're just saying, well, this is the way forward. And clearly it's a backward step, it seems. I don't know anyone that's really given a positive response to how it is right now.
No, and I think the other thing as well, VAR was starting to settle down, and we're getting referees to go over to the monitor on the pitch, which is great, and reassess. Look at the Manchester United penalty that he gave. Sorry, the Brighton penalty against Manchester United, and he went out and had a look, and he said, no, actually, I've got it wrong. And he was brave and bold enough to say, no, through VAR, I changed my decision, and that's correct. So we're starting to use it correctly. But the problem for me is sometimes for handballs and things like the ones that we're seeing, the accidental handball, they're watching it in slow motion. It's impossible to judge it in slow motion in the same way as it is when it's, we don't play football in slow motion. Some people might have thought I did when I played. Or some players, they might think in their teams that they are. But no, the game is played at such a pace. And you know what, Chris? It's getting quicker. It's getting quicker every year. They're fitter, the pitches are better, the balls are lighter, the boots are lighter. The game is much quicker. So, you can't watch it now then in slow motion to see whether there's a handball, because it's unrealistic. And as I say, it's ruining our game.
Well, let's just hope that common sense prevails and the rule gets changed very soon. Glenn has tweeted, "Can we have our game back?" What do you think? Let us know your thoughts. This episode is brought to you by Rainbow Sports Group. Rainbow Sports Group are a leading football infrastructure platform looking to discover and nurture the best young African talent. The CEO, Kingsley Pungong, is an agent, club owner, academy owner, and a huge investor in promoting African football. He sees philanthropy as part of his business model and is intent on leaving a lasting legacy for African football. For more information, visit rainbow-sports.com. You're listening to the Glenn Hoddle Footy Show podcast. If you'd like to get in touch with Glenn, this is how to do it.
To get in touch with Glenn with a question for a future Footy Show podcast, you can email glenn@midnightuk.co.uk or send a tweet to @MidnightMix.
When we asked for questions to the show, I expected loads of Tottenham fans to be asking you questions, and we've had a couple of Tottenham fans asking you questions, but mainly it's Chelsea fans that have been asking Glenn questions. And Dano, who I know is a big Chelsea fan, he's been to a few events supporting the former players as well. He sent in a tweet, and we sort of answered a little bit in episode 2, but I thought you might well just have a nice word on this. He says, "Glenn, how proud are you of the foundations you laid for what has been the most successful 25 years in Chelsea's history?" So not about you being there, but how proud are you that you were the main part of that foundation?
Yeah, I'm very proud when I look back, because if I hadn't have gone or whatever to Chelsea at the time, somebody needed to go to Chelsea to change the mentality, to change so many things behind the scenes, the training ground, all them things, and then to demand that we get better players in and improve the standard of playing. Whatever manager's got their ideas on tactical sides and side of the game and people who they're going to bring into the club, that's always going to be the same. But Chelsea needed change. It needed change in a big way, and we changed it for sure. And that every house needs a good foundation. It'll crumble. It'll fall. It doesn't matter how much money you spend on it. It'll fall if you haven't got the foundations right. And that was really where I saw Chelsea at that time. And we started the stepping stones were being placed, and they were put in place. And it's lovely to see what happened. It's taken money, but I think it was Matthew Harding had a great influence on the club as well. We mustn't forget that at the time. I know Chelsea fans will never forget Matthew. But between Ken Bates, myself, and Matthew, we started to build something, and it's great to see where it's gone. And it's not the Chelsea. Certainly, when I met Ken Bates and Colin Hutchinson and went to Arlington and saw the training ground and all that, it's come on leaps and bounds. And yes, it was hard work, but it was fruitful work.
Great stuff. Thanks, Glenn, for that. Thanks to Dano as well for the message. If you want to get in touch, @MidnightMix on Twitter, you can send your questions in and Glenn will answer the best ones. And we'll do that throughout the season. All the episodes are available now, of course, on Apple, Spotify, Google Play, Amazon Music, Stitcher, Deezer, all over the place. And, of course, on Twitter, you can find them as well. So get in touch with us if you want to. We're going to finish this week's episode with a quick look at the Monday night game. We mentioned it a little bit in episode 2, but it's coming up now in episode 3. Liverpool, Arsenal, could be a cracker. Both have started really well, and both will be looking to go undefeated, stay undefeated. This season looks like they're not going to drop many points to top 6, are they?
No, I think that's. I think it's an exciting fixture. Whether Arsenal can go there and get enough of the ball in behind Liverpool's defence is the key to whether Arsenal can get a result there. You know, Liverpool are going to come at you. They're going to press you hard. They're going to be on the front foot. And they've got those 3 up front, and they've got goals from everywhere. So you know you're going to have to defend well. The one good thing about Arsenal now, they're more resilient. They are defending as a unit much better. But you know what? If Liverpool defend too high and have that high line too close to the halfway line, the likes of Aubameyang could find himself, with a bit of pace. Arsenal could find themselves getting in behind. Now it's whether they take their opportunities, and they've got the quality to, but it's whether they keep their calm heads and they become clinical, whether they can get something out of this game. I probably just see it as a Liverpool win, but I don't think it's going to be an easy game for Liverpool. I think Arsenal will cause them all sorts of trouble. I'm going for a 2-1. I'm going to put my head on the chopping block, 2-1 Liverpool.
2-1 for Liverpool, says Glenn. That's all we've got time for this week on the Glenn Hoddle Footy Show. Thanks very much for joining us. Make sure you subscribe and follow us for free on any of those platforms that you want. And we'll be back again next Sunday night with lots more news, views and previews on the Glenn Hoddle Footy Show. See you then.
That's all for today. See you next week.